let's discuss here. I want to do this again as a video here to show a little bit about the duration. So let's focus on that first to understand the durations. And one thing to keep in mind as we're doing our listings, and I'm pulling this up in my eBay to just kind of show the options here to do a recording. But when we look at the selling details, we have the format option where we can do either a fixed price or an auction style, and then we have duration. And whether we do fixed price or auction will determine what duration options we have too. If we do an auction style listing, for example, then we only have 1 day, 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, or 10 days as our options. Okay? And that has its own benefits. You know, the auction has a place. If we have an item that is extremely popular and we have a feeling that putting it out there, people might bid higher than we would ask or the minimum that we would want, then we might want to go ahead and do an auction style listing. But if you do an auction style listing, then you want to make sure that your start price is the minimum that you're willing to accept. So if this item we want at least $30, but it might be worth $60 or more, then we want to start it at that minimum where, hey, if I got $30, I'd be okay with it, right? So don't do an auction and start it at 99 cents like eBay often suggests that you do if you don't want to take the chance of selling it for 99 cents, because if it only gets one bid, if it's not as popular as we thought, or we do something wrong, we don't get enough views or whatever, if it only gets the one bid at 99 cents, then that's what we're selling it for. And so we have to make sure that we're thinking about that when we're creating this, if we're doing an auction style listing. Now also with an auction style listing, we have the buy it now price and a reserve price. There's a note here that says fees may apply, and we can click the little bubble there to see that, but sometimes there are fees for these extra things. The buy it now option has to be at least 30% higher than our start price. And so if you click in that field, eBay is going to tell you, hey, it needs to be at least this much. You don't have to do that. You could leave that blank and not have a buy it now price. But what that means is if you want to do an auction price, but you would be happy to accept, let's say we're starting at 30, but we'd be happy, thrilled if we got $70, for example, then we could go ahead and put that buy it now price at $70, which gives people the option. As they look at our listing, they can look at that and say, I don't want to pay $70, but I'll start bidding, and they can start the bidding. And if they place a bid, then that takes away the buy it now option. So it's no longer there. Now we're running an auction. We have to wait for it to end. Okay? But if, on the other hand, somebody looks at that listing and they see that $70 buy it now price, they can look at that and say, I don't want to wait for this auction to end. I think $70 is a good price. I'm going to buy it now. And they can click on that buy it now and pay the $70 and they own it. Then end the listing right there, and there's no auction that takes place. So those are important things just to look at as you're seeing that. If we are doing an auction style listing, I would suggest generally that we do 7 days. 10 days is a little too long, and honestly, any of these others, 1, 3, or 5 days are pretty short. I wouldn't ever do the short auction times. There may be a place for that, not in most of what you're going to be doing. The only time I would ever do a short duration is if I'm starting something in the middle of the week and I want it to end on Monday, Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday, which are the best days, generally speaking, to end an item. So if I want it to end on Monday night, but I have time to list it on Wednesday, well, then I can list it on Wednesday, put it at a 5-day, and it ends close to when I want it to. Okay? So those are the options under the auction style. If we change that format and look at fixed price, then we have a 3-day option. And if we do a 3-day option, they're going to charge us $1 for that normally. Now, I'm not seeing that fee show up here, but usually that's what I've seen. I wonder if they changed that because it's not showing here. But 3 days is pretty short. Again, most of the time we want to let it run a bit longer than that. And again, I would only use these short durations, 3, 5, 7, or 10, and I I don't recommend 10, honestly. 7 days is usually going to be the best. 5 days if you're starting in the middle of the week and want it to end early, early in the next week. Those are the only two I would do for short durations. But again, if we're doing a drop ship model where we have a base cost on the product, short durations, the only benefit we get there is we get a spike of traffic at the beginning and a spike of traffic at the end, so we get more views in a short time. That's really the only benefit there. Yes, it can be somewhat beneficial to have that, but it is going to raise our costs. So let's take a minute and just explain those costs again. The way eBay does their fees, the first 50 listings you do, and it doesn't matter whether they are relisted items or newly listed items, the first 50 listings of each month, they're going to let you do those with no listing fee, no cost, okay? And so those first 50 are free insertion. After you hit 50 listings, again, doesn't matter whether they're relistings or new listings, from the first of the month going into the month, once you hit 50 listings, they're going to start charging a listing insertion fee, which is 30 cents if we don't have a store. So 30 cents per listing after that. So if you calculate that, add the dollars or the pennies up, we're looking at somewhere around 118 to 120 listings is getting to the point where you're getting charged the amount that you would pay if you were doing a basic eBay store. Okay, and I'll pull that up and just show it real quick here on this video that I'm doing here. If we go to stores.ebay.com, and we can get to their page, and we can go in here on the right side. They have stores in red. This is one thing that they haven't changed for a long time. They changed so much about their site, but this has remained. This page has remained looking like this for a long time, so maybe it will continue to remain. But on this page right now, on the right side, there's a link that says Open a Store or Manage My Store, which I have because I already have a store. And when you click on that, you've got a Subscribe Now option, or if you scroll down, they give a bunch of testimonials and reasons for doing it, and then they talk about the fees. And they say the standard fees are up to 50 free and then 30 cents per listing. And then they say if you do the basic store per month, let's see, a yearly subscription is $19.95. Monthly, if we're doing it just month to month, then it's $24.95. So again, $20 to $25. And that gives you 250 listings free on the fixed price style, and an additional 250 free on auction style listings, but it says only in certain categories. So auction style listings in collectibles, fashion, collectibles and fashion categories. So it's only for certain categories. So plan on, for most of us, 250 listings for that store. After you reach that 250, then you're looking at either 25 cents per listing auction style or 20 cents per listing for fixed price style. And so then they will start charging fees again, but at a little bit lower rate. And I'm doing a little calculation here. So if we do, let's see, so 30 cents per listing. Yeah, so what is that? So 80, I think, 75 or 80 is where it comes in, but we've got the, let's see, times 75. Okay, so it's about 75 charged listings, and so 50 free, 75, we're looking at about 120 to 125 listings is where your breaking even point is for the store. So until that, I recommend just doing standard listings unless we're going to the short durations. All right, so let's get back to the durations and talk about that. What's best? 3 days I never recommend. 5 days only if we want it to end at the beginning of the week, but we're listing in the middle, like a Wednesday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or something. If we're going to do short durations to get a spike when they list and a spike when they end within a short period of time, then 7 days is the best way to go. If we do that and we have 56 items listed, then we're not looking at 56 listings anymore, because we're going to multiply that by 4, and so we've got 224 listings for the month. And if we were to do that without a store, then we're spending more than we would with a store. So somewhere around 40 to 50 listings. If you're doing short duration, it makes sense to do a store. So let's talk about the longer durations. We could do a 30-day and just get charged one insertion fee each 30 days. It runs for the 30 days, then we can renew it. Or we can do a good till canceled. Now the difference between those two is good till canceled keeps the same page up. So when you relist an item, if we were to do a 7-day listing and then it ends and we relist it, it actually creates a new page of content on eBay's system. So now what we're talking about is the eBay URL. Up in the address bar, there's an address. So this one for the stores page that I just clicked on here says pages.ebay.com/seller-center-stores-index.html. That is the address of this page. So each time you create a listing, you have a listing number up there in that address, and you have, and I'll show you one of those in the video here. If we look at one of my listings, we can see that. So if we pull up a listing, we'll have the ebay.com/itm/item number. And that item number is specific to this listing. If this listing ends and isn't set as good till canceled, then if I relist it, I'm going to have a new item number, which means it's a new page on eBay. Again, there are kind of pros and cons to all of this. I prefer to do good till canceled because I understand the SEO value, the value of being found on Google. If somebody searches for my items on Google and I have done a good job of creating content in my description that is keyword relevant, then my listing might come up in Google when somebody searches for it. And so I like that idea of having my pages, my eBay page, rank in the search engines. That's only going to happen if that page stays there on that same exact URL. And so for that, I want to do a good till canceled duration. Okay, that's part of why I like that. The other thing about good till canceled is it runs 30 days and then automatically relists. And it's not just a relist creating a new listing, it's the same page, it just happens. I don't have to worry about it. It'll keep doing that until I cancel it or I sell out of the item. If we do a 30-day listing, then we've got the long duration, we've got just the one insertion fee each 30 days, but it will end and will have to be relisted at the end of those 30 days. So I know I've explained a lot here. You kind of got to review this video perhaps and decide what you think is best for you. Ultimately, the only way to really tell, to look at statistics to tell whether you're getting more sales on short durations than long is to have, say, 500 listings up there with half of them being shorter and half of them being longer in similar items. That's really the only way you can tell for yourself whether it's better for you to list your items as a short duration or better to do as a long. Okay? So pros and cons on both sides there.